Hey everybody, and welcome to Out with Dale. But we are not out today because we're in. We're in my living room at home, the Love Shack, and I have been trying to get this great lady on 2 different television shows that I've hosted, which is true, and you know it's true. I would like to introduce you all to the lovely, charming Katherine Glass. Wait a minute, hold on. Yay! All right, welcome, Katherine.
Thank you, Dale.
Cheers.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I am so excited to have you here. It is true because I did host a show called This is the Nightlife. Tried to get you on there. You were so busy booked with readings and healing retreats. Mm-hmm. And then I tried to get you on New England Pride TV and something happened there. But this is your show. This is your 30-minute show, which I'm very excited about. Now, what I'm going to tell our viewers at home is why I am obsessed with you for years. And whenever anybody asks me, have you ever been to a really good psychic? The answer is always yes, and it's always Katherine Glass.
You're very kind.
And I'm going to tell you why. And you probably don't even know the impact you had on me. But I had a test. I've been to many psychics in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. I'm 60. I've probably been to 60 different psychics.
Wow, one a year.
One a year. We used to go once a year to it was our thing, you know, me and my friends.
Yeah.
But there was always a test that I would keep in my mind, and it was such a hard test. I never thought anybody could pass this test. Now, I'm going to start by saying,
you're giving it away, you know.
Well, it happened with you, so yeah. So what happened was, I had a feeling that somebody was really navigating my music career. And I knew who it was. He was one of my very best friends. He had passed away. And he had such an unusual name that nobody could come up with it, even if they looked in the newspapers. This would be, like I said, before computers, before internet, before cell phones, actually. And I walk into Katherine's beautiful little shop in Concord on the 2nd floor. What's the address?
96 Commonwealth Avenue.
All right.
Concord, Mass.
So I'm sitting up in your waiting area, and at the time that you had wicker chairs. Do you still have those?
Yeah, they're dark brown.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And you walked up the stairs. You were lovely as can be. She goes, "Hi, you must be Dale. I'm going to go cleanse the room. I'm going to, and then I'll come, take a few minutes, and then I'll come out and get you when I'm ready." That's what you said. Mm-hmm. And there was a receptionist behind the desk, a young girl, if I'm not mistaken, I think. And I'm sitting in this wicker chair, and you had gone into some hallway in some room, and I'm sitting out there, and out of nowhere, this electrical charge took over my body so much that I thought like, oh, she's like got this chair rigged. Like that's what I thought. That's like I actually got up, I stood up, and I looked around the chair, knowing full well that wood is not a conductor.
That's hilarious.
But, right. So I was looking under your chair, and the receptionist behind the counter said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "No, I'm sorry, I just dropped my keys." I totally lied because I thought for sure like this was rigged somehow to make me feel like shocked or something, right? So I sit down again. I get up because I feel that total surge of electricity.
Yeah. I
stand up for the second time. You open the door very quickly and you say, "You have to come with me, please."
It's starting.
It's starting, and there is so much that's coming through. It's like an electrical charge, you said.
Oh, wow.
You sat me across from you, and you said, I had a piece of paper. You said, "I'm just going to say what I want to say, and then we'll go through everything you write down, and we'll discuss it." And we were sitting close like this. And the first thing you said to me was,
I don't remember this at all.
"That's all right. I do. I'll never forget it." Was, "He's here. He keeps saying dizzy." And you kept saying dizzy, D-I-Z-Z-Y.
Yep.
But you kept saying, "Every time I say dizzy, I see him shake his head. And I know I'm close, but I'm not right on." Well, the man that keeps coming through that I've been waiting for, his name was Desi.
Oh, now I'm remembering a little bit.
You could not have, there's no way you could have known that. Because you probably said it 5 times. And you said to me, every time I say dizzy, he says, no, but I know I'm close. And I'm like, you couldn't get any closer.
Wow.
And you said to me, he wants you to know that you think he's the one, you think he's involved in your music career, and you're right. And I mean, that was just, I mean, every test that I ever gave any psychic anywhere was answered right in that first like 10 minutes of meeting you.
That's
so
beautiful.
that was amazing. And then you went on. I mean, I filled a whole page, and it was incredible. But so many things.
Yeah, that was before cell phones, because I usually have my clients record.
Yeah. And you, and you're the one who told me that I was going to have a television show.
Oh.
And I had no idea that would even happen. And I'm like, okay, I'm open.
Yep. I'm vaguely remembering the reading. Something about awards, or
I don't know. I don't expect you to remember, because you know how long.
The second reading we had was.
Do you know how long ago it was?
No.
It was 8 years ago.
Oh, wow.
And that's how much I've been talking about you for 8 years. So let's get on to you right now.
Bless your heart,
Bless
Dale.
you.
Well, that's funny. There's something magic about 8 years. I had, if you're lucky as a reader and a healer, but especially a reader, there are a lot of readers now. It's the planet has opened up. We're not getting persecuted as much anymore as we were back in Salem in the 1600s.
Yes.
But if you're lucky and you have the kindness of your clients to give you any feedback, whenever it happens, a year later, a day later, it's such a blessing, because they're really, for a valid, true reader, there is no way to be validated or to know if what you're saying is crazy or not, or makes any sense, unless you get given validation. And so sometimes when you're reading for someone, they don't even know if it's valid in the moment. So I got a call, I just want to say that 8-year number. Okay. I got a call from a client who I'd read once or twice over a period of years, and she wrote to me, and a letter, an email, and she said, I want you to know that 8 years ago, you told me everything that just finally came true happened in the last week. I bought the house, I'm 52, I'm left the job, I'm with the new man,
Yep.
And it was just really cool.
Do you have that happen a lot, where clients will call, I'm calling them clients, what do you call them? Do you call them clients? Okay. Clients will call you like years later saying, guess what? You were right.
And I was mad at you when I left your office because none of it made sense, and I thought you were crazy, and oh my God, you were right. I hear that often, and it's wonderful. But Dale, the truth is, really, really, and genuine readers know this, it's lovely. My ego, Katherine personality, loves the confidence and the validation.
The validation.
But it isn't me. I'm the vessel.
You're the vessel.
I'm the tool. And we have to remember that, because as soon as I get invested in the outcome, the reading's screwed up.
Right.
And that's the hardest part about being a reader. Because you have to trust. And every time you read, it's like jumping off a cliff and going, okay, catch me, spirit.
Right.
That's it.
Absolutely. Now, one of the questions, one of the things I want our viewers to know is that you have been awarded Psychic of the Year for 2019?
And 13.
And 13.
Yeah. But that was Best American Psychics. That's not like of the whole country.
No, but that's still pretty
that
amazing.
Organization.
Yeah, but that's still pretty amazing. So bravo for that.
Thank you.
So let's start with some basic questions. I put it out on Facebook earlier. If people could meet you, what questions would they like to ask you?
Cool.
And one of the questions was from Tina.
Okay.
When did you first learn of your abilities, and did it scare you?
Great question, Tina. So when you are a psychic intuitive child, you're just you. You don't know that you're psychic or intuitive or any different than anyone else.
Right.
And you will hear many interviewed psychics say very same thing.
Right.
So my mother used to notice it and acknowledge, oh, you're psychic. And she would make a comment in passing.
So she would just be like, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, oh, you're psychic.
Was she psychic?
Yeah, well, she says she wasn't, but she totally was. She saw me before I was born. She said I materialized up in the corner of the room soon after my conception. And she knew she was going to have a girl. And she said I was about 15 or 20-ish years old.
Okay, that's not psychic?
Right. And I said, hello, mother. And I giggled and had blonde hair. And she knew she was pregnant with a girl. And I think that's very psychic. Also, I'm going to answer Tina's questions all in one burrito fold here.
A burrito.
So, because so she was telling me I was psychic by things I would do or say. And I was also very open, I think, naturally. And so she didn't make a big deal about it. It was just so. And it wasn't like, oh, you're going to be a psychic one day. And then around my home growing up, we had, my parents were truth seekers. There was Ouija board and tarot cards, and my mother read tarot for her students. She taught drama at Yale and all over the place. And she
Is this from the young age that you can remember?
Students would come over and she'd lay there, and I loved being in the energy of the tarot readings, and there was something in the air that felt comforting and electric to me. And I wasn't doing the reading myself, but I was in the environment of it, right?
Yeah.
So, and the astrology. So I remember being a child reading Fate magazine, which she had a subscription to.
Oh.
And it was stories of angels visiting and psychics. And it all felt really home, like home. Then my sister passed, unfortunately. She got an illness, a quick illness, like a flu, and she died in 3 days. And
that is very quick.
Yeah, and I was 6.
Okay.
And it was really tragic for the whole family. And
how old was she?
17.
Okay.
She caught a flu, Hong Kong flu in 69, but I think it was meningitis. It turned to meningitis.
Wow.
So I remember after that, you're 6 years old, your big sister, who's like a mother to you, is suddenly nowhere. And you're like, I'm probably thinking, well, where'd she go? Where is she? Unconsciously, I don't know.
Right, you're
All
6.
I remember feeling is, I don't want to see a ghost. I don't want to see a ghost, because I called dead people ghosts then, right?
Okay,
I don't want to see a ghost. So I shut something down,
Yeah.
so I must have known. And I do remember also, right after her death, and my mom was grieving, my grandmother was living with us downstairs in another room.
Okay.
And she would come up and lie with my mom, who was sobbing on the bed. And I remember, because I slept in the room with my mom, and I remember going to sleep, but I wasn't really asleep yet. And my grandmother was channeling my sister, talking to my mother.
Your grandmother was channeling your sister.
She was talking and comforting my mom as if she were Judy, my sister. And so now in hindsight, and then years later, when I became a professional psychic reader and healer, my mother actually said, your grandmother was a medium. She went to psychics all the time. She wouldn't do the Ouija board because she'd say to me, oh, darling, I know what they're going to say. I don't need the Ouija board. And so I realized, it is generational. It does sometimes, it goes through the line.
It does go through, yes, absolutely. I think my sister actually, I've lived in many, anybody who knows me knows I'm very open about this. I'm open about everything. I think it's the only way to be. I've lived in many haunted houses, like many.
Yeah.
And I remember my sister's very sensitive. And before I even moved into a house, not this one, but a house I lived in prior, she walked in the first day to come see my new house, and she opens the door and she goes, oh, who died here?
Oh, wow.
And I didn't even know somebody had died there because Jeff never told me.
Right.
Because he knew how I would be. Because the best thing I do in life is panic and overreact. And so, but my sister was right. She was like, bam, right on.
Yeah, you should cleanse a new space anyway, not out of fear,
When
but
you say cleanse, you mean sage?
Sage, prayers,
Yeah.
high vibrational meditation, thought forms, sound frequencies, chanting CDs, anything that's going to cleanse the atmosphere, and you can respectfully say, thank you for this beautiful space. I'm going to be living here now. I'm going to take the space, and if we can live harmoniously, you can hang out, but otherwise, I don't want you around.
Because one time, the house I lived in before this one, Jeff and I made it 43 weeks and 3 days. That house was so haunted, we couldn't stay there any longer.
Yeah,
and
bad imprint.
It was very bad. It was very bad. That's a whole nother show.
Yep.
Maybe a Halloween show.
But I just want to answer, last thing about Tina's question was I frightened? As a
were you
child I was,
frightened?
but by the time I actually got into healing work and reading as a psychic professionally, I was trained and getting trained, and so I was ready. I was into my 30s when I really, I became a massage therapist first, and then I would touch people, and as I was working on them, I was reading and picking up all the stuff about them, and I would, start talking to them if they invited it. Obviously, in a massage, you're quiet.
You were always in the healing aspect of it.
Well, after I left performing arts, I moved into healing at 23, and it was just the right niche for me, and that gave permission for all the gifts to just really blossom quickly. And I want to talk about your story really briefly because it's interesting to me personally when you mention I got the name Desi, because it became apparent to me years into studying mediumship and practicing it professionally. I call myself the name medium, and I just get a lot. I mean, I don't do it publicly, but when clients come to me, I say, look, guys, this is how I work. Every medium works differently. We all get information in different ways. Clairaudient, clairsentient, we feel they all work together.
This leads into my next question, so go ahead.
So I hear names a lot.
Okay.
Now, there's two schools of thought on this. Names are great, and sometimes student mediums will work hard to get a name because they think it's such proof.
You think that's validation?
Yes, and for a while I fought it because I thought, name, it's just going to confuse people, or they'll think you're fishing. But it is such an inherent part of my instrument. I've learned to accept it and respect it. So when I have a client, I sit them down, I say, take a pad of paper, even though this is recording, take a pad of paper. I'm going to hear a lot of names. It's one of the ways that I get information.
Right.
And on the one hand, it's awesome because it's a shortcut. You get right to the spirit. On the other hand, I'm learning that the spirit world, when they work with me, because they know that the name link makes my connection to them stronger so they can get the rest of the information through.
Yes.
They will name people living. They will name people in the family. They will name cousins, friends, as well as people over there who are with them. So I have to tell my clients, when you hear names, it's not just dead people or people who have passed. It's
people in your life.
Yes. Or in their life. And
or
write it down, because if you don't recognize the name, I'm saying take it to someone who's still living who might be able to validate it.
Validate that.
But sometimes I get name, and I'm not even sure why they're coming through. It's just it's just evidential that, yes, Charisse was in the family, or Charisse was a neighbor.
Right.
But
it is validating that you've got the right person that's connecting to you, kind of thing, right?
Yes,
Correct,
and back then when I was reading with you, I didn't consider myself being able to get names, but I think I was. And
absolutely.
And the first time I did a mediumistic connection, it was at my psychic training where I was learning, and I sat down to give a reading. I said, "Who's David?" And she said, "That's my son." I was just reading her psychically, and it wasn't a mediumship reading. And she said, "That's my son. He passed," and I heard it. So that's when it all opened up. And
to be clear, when I said it was before cell phones and before computers, I meant when my friend passed away. So you could never have known who it was or whatever, because I never posted anything on social media about it, because it was always my go-to validation, So I do see a lot of psychic mediums and healers. I love the story about how they get impressions. Some people will see certain symbols. Some people will hear names. So is yours primarily, is it feelings? Is it names? Is it symbols? Is it
my first strongest? We call them the clairs. Clairaudient, clairsentient, clairvoyant is seeing, is hearing. I hear. I'm very musical. I hear words, and I hear the name. And then I see them, and I get the description, I see them. And sometimes it comes so fast all at once. It's hearing, seeing, knowing, direct knowing. You just know. Oh, and sometimes it'll happen fast, like, I know there's a male with you. Oh, I know it's father, but I haven't heard even father yet. And then I'll get insecure and think, well, what if I'm wrong? See, then your ego's in the way. You got to get out of your way if you're going to do this work, because you just mess it up.
Right. Like you said, you've got to just open yourself up. It's like you said. Did you say a free fall? Is that what you said?
Yeah, you just let go and trust. And I had one of my teachers, one of my mentors, his name is Paul Reese. He's from Wales. He and Deb have a school, and I love them dearly, and I studied with them too. And he would grill us, or when we do your practicing, and when I wouldn't get something accurate, it can crush a medium, a developing medium. You get really insecure.
Yeah, I can imagine it would.
And then you think they don't believe you, and that can mess you up. And if you're not sitting in the power of the energy, you're all in your ego, and that's the problem. But he would say, when you get a no from a client, just don't hear no, hear look again.
Okay.
So that keeps you in the center of the energy of spirit, and you look again. Because we are the radio receptor. We can get it wrong. We're human.
Right.
Spirit isn't wrong.
Right.
Spirit knows their name.
Right.
Spirit knows when they passed.
Yeah.
But we can get garbled information.
I understand. Now, where does somebody go? Well, let me start from the beginning. Where do you think everybody in the world has some kind of psychic ability?
Equipment, yes. Anatomy, yes.
Everybody.
I do.
Okay.
I think so.
And some people happen to just be stronger than others, or is it some people are just more gifted than others? Like anything.
You
like
and
an
I could
artist
go. You and I could decide to take piano lessons, Dale. Right?
Yeah.
And now you're a musician.
I'm going to guarantee you'll be better.
You had a calling to do music as your profession and your life walk.
Right.
It's one of your many talents, but that's the one that called you the strongest. We can all take mediumship classes, and pretty much I could almost guarantee everyone will get a connection that's valid and accurate.
Okay.
The question is, do you want to develop it? Do you want to do what it takes to make
Right.
it strong and polished? Do you feel called to it? Now, definitely some people have a stronger natural propensity than others.
Yep. Like anything, right?
A natural ability.
Yep.
Personally, I believe that's from past lives accumulating. I know that I have been a reader, an oracle, a seer for many lives.
All right, so you do believe in, that was one of my questions coming up.
Yes.
You do believe in reincarnation, correct?
I do.
Okay.
It makes sense to me.
All right. Because I have a
Energy can't die, it can only change form.
I have a really interesting reincarnation story, which I'm going to save for another show because this is all about you.
Okay.
But I know that I have been with Jeff for at least, as long as I can remember. Honestly, it's somebody that completes me. It's the missing piece kind of thing, you know?
Yes, yes.
And it just felt like home immediately. And
Yeah.
and I think
You'll recognize people throughout your life that you've known before.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, one of the things that I wanted to really stress to our viewers at home is, who are viewers watching, is that you are somebody who is, I don't want to say more or less into healing, but it's a big part of what you do.
Oh, I started out only as a healer.
Only as a healer.
That's my background.
Are you talking Reiki? Are you talking?
Barbara Brennan Healing Science was the first training I got after massage therapy.
All right.
I started as a massage therapist, and so the healing touch was already there.
Okay.
And then, energy comes through my hands, and it also was with my mother and my grandmother. It's the kind of touch, I can't feel it on myself, but when I touch another, I've been told it's like a melting happens, this just soothing energy.
Well, I have to tell you that I've only had Reiki once in my life, and I couldn't believe that it was real because it was. She wasn't even touching me. Her hand was like 4 inches above my body.
And you could feel it.
But the heat coming off that was unbelievable.
So we all have that. We're all made of energy. So I went to a beautiful healing school called the Barbara Brennan School of Healing, and it's a 4-year training. And that was my first foray after massage therapy. And from there, yes, Reiki I picked up years later. Didn't feel I needed it because Barbara Brennan work is very, very in-depth and intricate.
Okay.
You're learning the layers of the auric field. Barbara Brennan was a scientist with NASA for 18 years, and she studied electromagnetic energy and the human aura and energy field. She was also a channel and a very gifted medium and psychic and reader, so she could look inside your body.
Now, how did you find her?
Oh, that's an amazing story. I was a massage therapist at the time in Berkeley, California, and she was giving a talk, and I sat in the front row and I watched her do a demonstration on someone's chakra and field, and I just sobbing, weeping, like that's my teacher. Again, it was one of those knowings.
One of the knowings.
I was so moved.
Please explain chakras to our viewers.
So chakras are vortices or circles of energy that are like radio receptors.
How many do we have?
We have many, 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 but we have a basic 7 that are in the ancient Sanskrit texts from yoga and 5,000 years of Buddhist texts and things. Is
chakras a Buddhist thing or
Eastern thing?
Eastern.
I mean, it's
Eastern.
an Eastern understanding.
All right, okay.
But they're vortices of energy, like radio receptors, and they pull energy from the universal energy field, and they are processed through our individual auric field, which is about 4 to 6 feet out from our bodies. And when they're all healthy and spinning.
So that's your aura?
Yeah.
Oh.
And and it's really, so many digresses I could do. When they're spinning and acting well together, you feel harmonious, your energy is balanced, you're not in a lot of anxiety or fear. The thing is, our chakra system can get affected from birth, from the moment we're born, throughout life, on and off, or there can be a couple of core wounds, say abuse, early childhood abuse. The chakra will morph itself in a way to protect you, or it's called the wound, like a core wound, and it will change the way it circles energy, and it will affect the other chakras, so there can be a distortion in the field which will cause the person to maybe close their heart or not trust in life, and they become very withdrawn and shy when actually naturally they would have been a wonderful extroverted person. So our wounds can become our greatest gifts, because when you go and you seek healing for those wounds through therapy and healing, you get to step into your greatest gift.
Does this have anything to do with meditation?
It's all connected.
It's all
the
connected.
metaphysics, the metaphysical world.
Okay.
Jonathan and I want to...
Jonathan is her husband.
My husband, sorry. We have a healing center in Concord, as you know, and we've been there for 30 years. And
30 years?
I know! And we want to start a school for training metaphysics, healing, meditation, mediumship, psychic training. Jonathan is a Ayurvedic doctor and a Chinese medicine practitioner and a very gifted nutritional science person. And so we think that's the next. Our kids are leaving home. We're getting into empty nest, and we think that's going to be the next.
Your next step. Your next
teaching.
I am very open, and I talk very freely to anyone who will listen to me about anxiety, panic attacks, depression.
Sensitives tend to be prone to those. Just saying. Empaths, sensitive musicians, healers, artists.
Have you been able to, in your experience, have you been able to help anybody in the realm of anxiety or panic attacks, or with your healing? Have you worked on people for those specific reasons?
Definitely. And there always is an ongoing teaching with those healings of tools. And see, we have to take responsibility for our reality, and it's not as easy as popping a pill, to calm you down.
Yeah.
But it can be. I mean, it depends on how much the person wants to maintain and come back for regular healings,
right,
or eventually learn to manage their own energy field, which is part of what I teach in my retreats and my classes.
So, speaking of retreats, you have taught all over the country, like Sedona.
Sedona, we had a couple. Yeah,
Costa
my partner
Rica.
Kimberly. Yeah, I have a partner, Kimberly Napier.
See, I've done my research.
Kimberly is a coach and a life coach and so much more. She's also very clairvoyant and mediumistic herself, and that's a whole other story. Her husband passed, and she came to me as a client, and Spirit said, you're going to work with her, and she thought I was nuts. She looked at me like I had two heads, and I said, you're a medium, and she's like, what? But we started working together, and we've created these retreats called they're manifesting abundance retreats, and it's a whole mindset teaching. She's a life coach, and I'm a healer, reader, and we join our energies together, and we're this great balance. And it's primarily women who go, and they're usually at a transition in their life. Someone has died, their husband has passed, or they're going through a divorce, or empty nest, or they're tired of their corporate career and they want to change. They want to become an entrepreneur. And they come and do 4 days immersed in deep healing, meditation, guided stuff, processing. We take them through these tricks.
Is this for novices also, or do you have to have some kind of... Okay.
No, it's not. And we teach day-long workshops too occasionally.
Speaking of work, you have a workshop coming up, a big work with other people.
Oh, that's an event, yeah. I do. I meant to bring the flyer.
What is that coming up? I know it's big. It's with like 3 other people,
correct?
Correct?
There are four of us mediums. One is from Asheville. You'd love him. Anthony Mikolajeski. I hope I said your name right, Anthony. He's from Asheville. He's a love, and he's coming up for it. And then there's Mari Cartagenova, who's from Littleton, and Deborah Livingston, who is from Swampscott, and myself. And we're all highly trained mediums.
And where is it going to happen?
In Newton, at the Newton Marriott. On April 23rd, yeah.
April 23rd.
7 to 9.
7 to 9.
Yeah.
Tickets can be bought where?
On Eventbrite.
Eventbrite.
Just go to Eventbrite, put in Mediums Newton.
Mediums Newton, it'll come right up like that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, let me just ask, I have so many questions. Now, one of the things I did ask this morning, if any of our Facebook friends had any questions for you, and to be honest with you, they came up with some really good ones.
Okay.
One of them would, Alice wants to know if you had to consciously develop your gift, and how did you develop? How does it develop?
That's a beautiful question.
Yeah.
It is called development, actually, or unfoldment. So I want to be humble here, but I want to be honest.
Oh, okay.
My experience has been that it's been like falling off a log, honestly. What was hard for me was pursuing theater and entertainment, because I was so sensitive. I couldn't handle the competition and the egos and the auditioning, and I just didn't have the armor. I remember going to a therapist in New York City when I was 23, sobbing to her, saying, I just want to love people. How can I love people for a profession?
Was it the constant, was it rejection, or was it just the stress?
It was the fear of rejection. It wasn't even the rejection.
It was the fear of rejection.
Which cut me off from even showing up to go. But when I found massage therapy, and I never even had a massage, but I just knew I wanted to be a massage therapist. Again, I was guided. Yeah. I heard it, I trusted it, I followed it. My whole life changed. My whole career got on track. That's why I believe we are guided.
Opened yourself
We're
up
guided.
We are guided.
We're guided.
Now,
so what was the question? Development, yes.
Yeah,
so then it just unfolded naturally.
Are you constantly honing your craft?
Not constantly, but I do less and less now because I've been working for 30 years in this field professionally, but I have all along gone to trainings. I think development's important. But you can get oversaturated in going to class, and sometimes it's time to just step out and fly and trust yourself. You can give your whatever it is, your light or your power away too much to teachers and keep thinking student. We're always a student of life.
Right.
Always.
Yes.
You're always learning, and even if you're teaching,
right,
please stay a student. But there comes a time when you have to also claim yourself and who you are in your individual gifts, and each medium, psychic, musician, healer, welder, whatever you are you. And you're going to do it your way. And so you have to be true to that.
You have no idea how weird this is, because she just said, out of the clear blue, you just said welder, which has zero to do with anything we're talking about today. But all the while she's talking, I am thinking, I have a gift for my friend who is sitting and watching us today. It's a gift of a dragonfly from a welder that I just met. And I was picturing the dragonfly. I said, I can't forget to give this to my friend Michelle.
Okay, so there's a validation, and this takes me to the point I was going to say about I want to stay humble, but the truth is, for me, and this is my experience, it's always been like falling off a log. Once I left the theater pursuit and did what I feel my calling is, it just comes effortlessly to me, the psychic, and it even happens when I don't know it's happening. And I'll be in conversation and they'll say, wow, did you know that you just like what you just did?
I'm still stunned that you could have said anything. And I'm thinking, I've got to remember to give her that welded dragonfly. It's a welded dragon, it's made out of iron.
Yep. I had a reader tell me once, who does Akashic record reading, she said, you are a little unique in that you're what's called a conscious channel. You don't have to sit and meditate and prepare you just do it. And I do. I just show up and there it is.
And there it is.
And sometimes it's honing in and tweaking that knob, not always bam, bam, bam. No one's 100% accurate, because we're human.
We have time for one more quick question.
Wow, that flew by.
It did fly by. And I want to get your website and all the information after. But one more quick question. One of our viewers wants to know, how do you shut it? Does it overwhelm you? How do you shut it off?
Yes, it can drain you or drain me, and I have to take care of myself after I've worked. And I shut it off by, I was actually taught a method or a technique by one of my main teachers, not Barbara Brennan, but a teacher. After that, I studied for 4 years, clairvoyant training. She's now in spirit, and I feel she's with me too. She taught us a technique how to shut down the channel or part of the channel. And
is it hard for you to do?
No, no. When I'm clear, I'm done. One way I shut down is I do physical stuff. I'll clean the house. I'll do dishes.
Because
I'll
your mind
scrub
is
the
busy
toilet.
with other things?
Yep.
Okay.
Or just, but anything that takes you into a zone, a trance-like state. You know the old like King Arthur shows where they're spinning the spinning wheel and she goes into a trance, or looking into the fire and goes into a trance and has a vision.
Right.
That can happen. And every psychic and reader and healer, they have their own lane, I think, or they can have many gifts, but there's certain propensities that are stronger in their like Mari, who I'm going to work with. She's an incredible pet communicator and pet finder.
Do we meet our pets in heaven? Or on the other side?
Yes.
I said heaven, and I'm sorry, I should say on the other side.
In spirit, yes. Heaven's right here. It's all around us. It's not up or down. It's everywhere. Yeah. And it's just a dimension shift. And that's another thing.
Do you know what's funny? Because Einstein said the past, the present, and the future
it's all burritoed.
Yes.
Overlap.
Yes.
So people often ask me, how do you know when a spirit's around or something like that? And I tell them, for me, it's like if we're sitting here, Dale, and we're talking, and there was a radio on in the next room, and we could kind of hear some music, but we're not paying attention. If you shift your focus and hear that's a song and you hear the words.
That's how it happens for you?
It's like shifting your focus, and then there's the spirit communication right there. All right. And I believe we can all do this, to a degree.
We have come to the end of our show, but before we leave, please, website?
Katherine with a K. E-R-I-N-E, Glass, G-L-A-S-S, great name for clairvoyant, right?
Yes, it is.
Katherine Glass, I married that name, .com.
Okay, KatherineGlass.com. You are, I'm sure you have a business page on Facebook?
Oh yeah, Katherine Glass, psychic medium, psychic spirit medium, I think it says, I can't even remember.
Okay.
And my healing center is healingessencecenter.com.
And that's in Concord?
Yeah, Concord, Mass.
Second floor, super charming, really comfortable feeling.
Yeah.
And the event you have coming up in April is?
April 23rd, Thursday evening, 7 to 9 at the Newton Marriott.
Yes, you are right.
Yep.
I remember that from last the time
Newton
you said it
Marriott.
before.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for sticking with us. I hope you learned something. I always learn something. You're a joy.
Thank you so much for having me,
I'm
Dale.
sure people tell you that all the time.
Thank you.
All right.
It's been awesome.
Thank you for sticking with us here today on Out with Dale.